Yet another child has died due to unforeseen circumstances. It is the 5th death of a child under the age of 7 in the last 3 months. The police are investigating these suspected murders and believe that they are connected. The mystery serial killer goes by the bizarre name Mr.Tickle. One of the young victim's mothers speaks out about her horrifying experience. It must have been around 12:30 when I heard the faint sound of laughing. It sounded just like my son, so I just thought he had woken up and started to play with his toys, said the distraught mother. It was late, but I assumed he'd go back to sleep within 10 minutes. I thought nothing of it. I went back to sleep only to be woken by my son, laughing, but this time it was louder. It didn't sound quite right. It was as if he was in pain. I nudged my husband, got right out of bed, and walked across the landing to my son's room. What I saw next made me freeze in fear. A tall man was crouched over my little boy. He knew I was stood there, yet he didn't lunge at me or even try to make contact with me. He then stood up and faced me. I tried to scream, but I just couldn't. He came down to my eye level and stared at me with a smug grin. He had dull blue eyes and was wearing an orange hoodie dripping wet with blood, blue jeans covered in slashes and scruffs, and rust-colored hair slipping from a blue beanie hiding under his hood. He looked relatively normal, but then I saw his arms. They were longer than they should have been, by about a foot, if not more. And he could dislocate them. It wasn't normal. He wasn't normal. He kept advancing towards me until I was up against a wall. He contorted his face to create a smile, wiped his mouth with his sleeve, and wiped a tear off my cheek with his cold, blood-stained hand, leaving a smear of dried blood on my face. He didn't even speak. He didn't have to. I felt his breath on my face. He just went back to my son and placed a piece of paper under his pillow. Looking back at me, he grinned again and slipped out of my son's window, as casual as anything. He just strolled along the pavement, and I soon lost sight of him when he walked under the cover of a broken streetlight. I rang the police as quickly as I could. I still can't forget that man, that thing, whatever it was. It was that which took my little innocent baby out of this world. If you see someone who fits the description, remain calm, avoid contact, and report it to police as quickly as possible. This kid doesn't know what he's got. Like I care that he's only 6. He's had 6 whole years of life, and family and love. The thought makes my stomach turn. Makes me remember. I thought as I shook the past out of my head, remembering who I am now, I returned my attention back to the sleeping blonde-haired boy. After discussing all I could about the boy and his life in the weeks I had been surveying him, I was ready and waiting at midnight for an opportunity to teach that particular family the lesson of life not being perfect. Quarter of an hour later, I woke the boy up by gently tapping on his window. I presented myself as a friendly man and even came bearing a gift, one that would appeal to a specific child. I explained that I was lost and needed help. The boy was more than eager to be of use. For 15 minutes, we played with his toys and talked and laughed and giggled, and after a bit of convincing, the boy decided to fall asleep. He woke minutes later believing he was being tickled. The boy thrashed around and giggled, flailed his arms and kicked his little legs. smiled as his big brown eyes lit up. Suddenly, the tickling stopped. The movement stopped. I crouched over the boy's bleeding body and began to tear it up. Apparently, all I can do is tickle. Apparently, the bites don't hurt. Slowly, I disemboweled the brown-eyed baby, broke each rib like a stick, and enjoyed the snapping and sound. Finally, I found what I was looking for. I ate his heart, ripped the tiny arteries with my sharp teeth and chewed upon them before biting into the main muscle and filling my mouth with the warm blood. A person came into the boy's room. I smelled her fear. Emptying my mouth, I walked over to the woman, the boy's mother. She quaked in fear but tried not to show it. I would have laughed if I could have. Instead, I bared my yellow teeth and stared at the woman in a disconcerted fashion, wiping the blood from around my mouth. I later dislocated my arms with a lovely pop and wiped a tear of the woman's face. Such a shame to see such a beautiful face break, I thought, remorseless. I then turned away and put a piece of paper under the child's blood-drenched pillow. And it was a little note written in the blood of the peer. It read, "Once upon a time, there was a family who thought they were perfect, but they hid something. Mistakes happen, and people will live with it. You happen to live with it for 6 years. I suppose you never wanted any blood on your hands. No need to thank me. Mr.Tickle." I looked back at the woman and grinned, exiting the window I had previously entered. I walked down the street feeling pleased with myself and the night's work. I walked down the street and recited under a broken streetlight to watch the chaos unfold from afar. I heard 2 blood-curdling screams and was rather satisfied with myself. Let the chaos begin.